There is a pair of dress shoes sitting in a department store right now, marked at $250, with a label that says leather upper, stitching that looks like a Goodyear welt, and a brand name your father probably trusted. And the sole is glued on. The leather is corrected grain coated in plastic finish. And within 6 months, the heel is going to separate, the toe box will crack, and you will be standing in a Nordstrom rack wondering what happened. This is what passes for a dress shoe in 2026. And if you are a man who spends money on shoes expecting them to last, expecting the price to mean something, you need to understand what has changed, because most of the brands you recognize have quietly stopped making what they used to make. The names are the same. The quality is not. This is not a style video. This is not about trends or aesthetics. This is about where your money actually goes when you hand it over for a pair of dress shoes, and which brands are no longer earning it. We are going to go through 7 brands that most men should stop buying, and then 5 that are still worth the price. Some of what we will cover is going to be uncomfortable, especially if you have a pair of these in your closet right now. Let's start with the ones that are easiest to spot. Aldo is one of the most visible shoe brands in any mall in North America. They have a massive footprint, stores everywhere, clean displays, shoes that often look like they belong in a higher price bracket, and that is the problem. Aldo is a fast fashion shoe company. Roughly 60% of their production comes out of China, when with the rest spread across other low-cost manufacturing regions. The leather on most of their shoes is heavily corrected grain, scraps that have been sanded, coated, and embossed to look uniform. It will crease badly after just a few wears and lose its shape within weeks. The soles are cemented. There is no welt. There is no stitching holding the sole to the upper in any structural way. When the glue fails, and it will, the shoe is finished. You are looking at $60 to $130 for a shoe, with a useful life of maybe a year if you wear it once a week. For the same money, you can do dramatically better. We will get to that later. Steve Madden occupies a similar space, but with even less pretense about craftsmanship. Steve Madden's shoes are designed to be current, not durable. So the heels on many of their dress shoes are built from a thin shell of material over a foam core. One forum user described a pair that literally fell apart at 6 months. The built-up heel was a veneer of plastic over nothing. The leather, when it is leather at all, tends to crease aggressively and crack, not develop the patina that good leather should. These are disposable shoes priced between $80 and $140, sometimes more. The designs may look fine on a shelf, but the construction is engineered to get you through a season, not a year. Kenneth Cole rounds out this tier. For years, Kenneth Cole was the default answer for men who wanted something that looked dressy at a moderate price. And the styling still works. Their cap toes and wingtips photograph well. But the actual construction is among the weakest in any department store. Nearly everything in their dress line uses cemented soles, synthetic linings, and corrected grain uppers. There is almost nothing separating a Kenneth Cole Oxford from a no-name shoe at twice the distance. The brand awareness is doing far more work than the shoe itself. Those 3 are the most straightforward calls on this list. If you are buying from any of them, you are paying for appearance, not durability, and the appearance does not hold up long either. But the next 4 brands are where things get more complicated, because these are names that actually used to mean something. Stacy Adams was founded in 1875. For decades, they had a loyal following, particularly in professional settings and in the Black community, where the brand carried real cultural weight. Their older shoes were genuine leather, often welted, and built to a standard that justified the price. Today, Stacy Adams is owned by the Waco Group, the same parent company behind Nunn Bush and modern Florsheim. The quality has cratered. Most of their shoes now feature corrected grain leather with a plastic-like finish that peels after limited wear. Multiple buyers report the coating flaking off within 15 to 20 wears. Their shoes are not built to be resoled. If you are buying Stacy Adams in 2026, you are buying a name that has not matched its product in a very long time. Under $100 used occasionally, you might get acceptable mileage. But do not mistake the heritage for current quality. Florsheim tells an almost identical story. This was once one of the most respected names in American footwear. In the Florsheim Imperial was considered a benchmark, a seriously well-made shoe that professionals relied on for years. Now, most of what Florsheim sells is manufactured overseas, primarily in India and China. Customer complaints about sole disintegration have become common, not after years of wear, but after months. One recurring issue involves the rubber compound in their heels literally crumbling. Their Imperial line still exists, because the next two brands sit at a higher price point, and the gap between their reputation and their product is where the most money gets wasted. Johnston & Murphy once made shoes for US presidents. That is not marketing. It is documented history going back over 170 years. They were a premium American shoemaker. Then they were acquired by Genesco, a conglomerate more focused on fashion branding than manufacturing. Production moved overseas, Mexico, China, various other countries. The result is a dress shoe that typically sells between $150 and $350, with many models using cemented construction and leather quality that has drawn persistent criticism. Here is the core issue with Johnston & Murphy. Many of their shoes at the $200 mark use the same basic construction as shoes half their price. Cemented soles, corrected grain, synthetic linings. The difference is the name on the box and the store they are sitting in. Some of their models do still use Goodyear welt construction, but those are becoming harder to find in their lineup, and even the welted options have been called out for cheap heel blocks and mediocre leather. For the price of a mid-range Johnston & Murphy, you can get into a fully welted shoe from a brand that builds nothing but fully welted shoes. That comparison is becoming harder to ignore. Cole Haan might be the most instructive case on this entire list, because it shows exactly how a brand can evolve away from quality while maintaining and even growing its image. Cole Haan was founded in Chicago in 1928. For most of its history, it made traditional, well-regarded leather dress shoes. In 1988, Nike bought the company. Under Nike's ownership, Cole Haan started integrating athletic technology, Nike Air cushioning in dress shoes, lighter materials, comfort-focused design. It was innovative, and for a while the shoes were still well-made. In 2012, Nike sold Cole Haan to the private equity firm Apex Partners for $570 million. And this is where things accelerated. Cole Haan leaned hard into hybrid shoes, dress shoe uppers on sneaker-style soles. Their original Grand line became a massive seller. The brand expanded into over 500 stores worldwide. But what they are actually selling in many cases is a shoe that looks like a dress shoe and performs like a mid-range sneaker, with the price tag of neither. Cole Haan Oxfords range from $140 to over $300. Many use glued construction. The stitching you see on the upper is often decorative. It is not holding the sole on. Forum after forum is filled with complaints about soles detaching after 5 or 6 months of regular wear, toe boxes cracking, and leather that develops ugly creasing almost immediately. Older Cole Haan owners frequently make the same observation. The shoes they bought 20 years ago were genuine leather, well-constructed, and lasted. What the brand sells now is a different product wearing the same name. And because Cole Haan is everywhere, Nordstrom, Zappos, Macy's, their own outlets, it remains one of the default choices for men who want to step up from the mall brands. The brand is essentially operating on trust it built decades ago, under entirely different ownership, with entirely different manufacturing standards. That is the real story of dress shoes in 2026. The brands that fill department stores are largely selling the same product at different price points: cemented construction, corrected grain, synthetic linings, and differentiating almost entirely on marketing, store placement, and name recognition. A $250 Cole Haan and a $90 Aldo are not as far apart in construction as their prices suggest. The gap is mostly brand equity. So where does that leave you if you actually want a dress shoe that justifies its price? There are 5 brands worth your attention right now, and all of them earn it through construction, materials, or value, not just reputation. Mirman is a Spanish brand founded by the Albaladillo family, the same family behind the much more expensive Carmina. Their main line starts around $195 for a Goodyear welted Oxford made with full-grain calf skin. That means the sole is stitched to a welt, which is stitched to the upper, a construction method that allows the shoe to be resoled multiple times and last for years. At this price point, Goodyear welt construction is almost unheard of from other brands. The break-in period can be stiff, and some buyers note that the calf leather is not quite as supple as what you find at higher price points. But for under $200, there is nothing in a department store that comes close. Beckett Simonon operates on a made-to-order model out of Bogota, Colombia. Their shoes use Italian and Argentinian full-grain leather with Blake stitch construction, and they retail around $200, sometimes less with a first-order discount. The trade-off is time. Because they produce in batches, you might wait 6 to 10 weeks for delivery, but the leather quality punches well above the price. Multiple independent reviewers have noted that the leather feels comparable to shoes at double the cost. If you can plan ahead, this is one of the strongest value propositions in the market. Grant Stone has built a following by offering Goodyear welted shoes with Horween and other premium leathers in the $300 to $400 range. Their finishing and attention to detail have drawn favorable comparisons to shoes costing significantly more. If your budget allows it, Grant Stone represents the kind of quality-to-price ratio that used to define the brands now on our avoid list. Allen Edmonds is a complicated recommendation because they have faced their own quality control criticism over the past decade, particularly after changing ownership twice, first in 2013 and again in 2016. The leather has drawn complaints about feeling stiffer and more heavily finished than their older production. Stitching inconsistencies have been noted. These are real issues. And yet, Allen Edmonds still offers something almost no other major American brand does at this price: genuine Goodyear welted shoes made in the United States, starting around $325. While their recrafting program, where you send your shoes back and they rebuild them with a new sole, heel, and welt, extends the life of these shoes for years. A pair of Allen Edmonds Park Avenues bought on sale or as factory seconds can be recrafted for $175 and outlast 3 pairs of Cole Haan or Johnston and Murphy shoes. The brand is not what it was in 1995, but the underlying product, when you get a well-made pair, still offers something most of its competitors have abandoned entirely. Carmina sits at the higher end, around $500 and up, but if you are considering spending that kind of money at a department store brand, Carmina is what that money should actually buy. Hand-finished in Mallorca, Spain, with European calf skin and impeccable construction, their shoes are frequently cited as offering 95% of the experience of shoes that cost twice as much. Here is what all 5 of these brands have in common and what separates them from the 7 to avoid. They build shoes where the construction is the product. The sole is mechanically attached. The leather is full grain, not corrected. The shoe can be maintained, repaired, and resoled. You are buying a shoe that is designed to be worn for years, not replaced in months. The brands on the avoid list are selling a different product entirely. They are selling the idea of a dress shoe, the shape, the silhouette, the brand name, without the construction that makes a dress shoe worth owning. And they are doing it at prices that make it easy to believe you are getting quality. Also, because $200 still feels like a lot of money for a pair of shoes. It is not. Not when that $200 buys cemented construction and leather that cracks. The real waste is not the price. It is buying 2 or 3 pairs of those shoes over the same period that one properly made pair would have lasted. The dress shoe market has not collapsed. Good shoes are still being made. They are just not being made by most of the names you see in a department store. And understanding that difference before you hand over your card is the only way to stop paying for a label and start paying for a shoe.